As China began large-scale military drills encircling Taiwan, the United States' own military intelligence warnings about a future conflict echoed loudly across Southeast Asia, heightening regional anxiety and diplomatic unease. Within U.S. strategic and defense circles, the period leading up to a potential Chinese move against Taiwan has come to be known as the Davidson Window, a time frame that shapes wargaming. This term emerged from the comments of a former head of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, whose assessment of China's timeline significantly influenced how Washington views the risk of conflict over Taiwan. In 2021, Admiral Philip Davidson warned that China could potentially attempt a move on Taiwan within the next 6 years, suggesting a dangerous window for escalation before the decade closes. Admiral Davidson delivered these remarks during a high-stakes U.S. Senate hearing, which was led by Senator Dan Sullivan and focused on America's posture and preparedness in the Indo-Pacific region. Admiral Davidson said, and I quote, "I think our concerns are manifest here during this decade, not only on the development, the numbers of ships, aircraft, rockets, etc. that they've put in the field, but the way they're advancing those capabilities as well in combination with everything that you just cited. Hong Kong and Tibet, and a line of actual control in the South China Sea and the East China Sea. I worry that they're accelerating their ambitions to supplant the United States and our leadership role in the rules-based international order, which they've long said that they want to do that by 2050. I'm worried about them moving that target closer. Taiwan is clearly one of their ambitions before then, and I think the threat is manifest during this decade, in fact in the next 6 years." Unquote. Subsequently, then CIA Chief Bill Burns claimed that intelligence indicated President Xi Jinping had issued direct and specific directives to the Chinese military regarding Taiwan. In 2023, Burns said she had instructed the People's Liberation Army to be ready by 2027 to conduct a successful invasion of Taiwan if he were to give the order. These grim predictions triggered a wave of adjustments in U.S. foreign policy and defense planning related to Taiwan, reshaping commitments, deployments, and coordination with regional allies. The U.S. Congress formally launched the Pacific Deterrence Initiative, a program designed to fund and strengthen U.S. military posture and capabilities in the broader Indo-Pacific theater. This initiative began in the fiscal year 2021, notably coinciding with Davidson's prediction and reinforcing U.S. efforts to deter Chinese military plans. Notably, U.S. intelligence assessments suggest she wants China to be ready for a possible invasion of Taiwan by 2027, as reported by Axios. Those same assessments add that she would not necessarily order an invasion on such an accelerated timeline, but wants the option available if he deems it necessary. On December 29, China announced that it was mobilizing Army, Navy, Air Force, and Rocket Force units around Taiwan under new operation branded Justice Mission 2025. Following that announcement, China conducted live fire drills that effectively sealed off 5 zones around Taiwan for a period of 10 hours, signaling serious coercive pressure. Beijing expanded and added new warning zones under Justice Mission 2025, nearly covering the entire Taiwan Strait and squeezing Taiwan's strategic space. On the second day of the Justice Mission 2025 drills, China fired rockets into waters off Taiwan, demonstrating both range and intent with its missile forces. On December 30th, China declared that it had deployed Navy destroyers and bomber aircraft against what it described as separatist forces linked to Taiwan. Taiwan responded by saying that some of the PLA's live fire exercises took place in areas that Taipei considers to be its own territorial waters, raising sovereignty concerns. Taiwanese authorities reported that they had tracked 130 air sorties, 14 naval vessels, and 8 so-called official ships over the course of the drills. The Justice Mission 2025 exercises came soon after the United States announced its largest ever arms package for Taiwan, further aggravating Beijing's anger. In December 2025, Washington unveiled an $11.1 billion weapons package for Taiwan, underscoring the island's status as a key security partner and ally. Strikingly, China's current drills are the largest by geographic area and some of the closest conducted yet to Taiwan's shores, intensifying fears of miscalculation. Separately, China has also become embroiled in a diplomatic spat with another major U.S. ally in the region, adding to regional tensions. Tensions between Japan and China have surged in recent days following remarks by Japan's new premier, Sonai Takeichi, that were sharply critical of Beijing. Sonai Takeichi warned that Japan could be forced to take action if China launched an attack on Taiwan, directly linking Japan's security to the island's fate. Takeichi's comments angered Beijing, triggering a weeks-long war of words and diplomatic confrontation between China and Japan over Taiwan-related security issues. This diplomatic rift has occasionally spilled over into minor military confrontations, with incidents at sea and in the air adding to the sense of danger. In a particularly alarming move, Chinese jets reportedly locked radar onto Japanese fighter aircraft, a step widely viewed as indicative of potential offensive intent. Tokyo also voiced strong concern on December 30th about China's Justice Mission 2025 drills around Taiwan, warning that such actions destabilize the entire region. Throughout all this, China continues to insist that Taiwan is an inseparable part of its own territory and has repeatedly refused to rule out the use of force to seize control of the island.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.